like it. I don't experience myself being the center, you know?
And really healers are channels to channel higher energy
Something
and
else.
love into people, and that's the way one heals. But this was an amazing experience. At the beginning of the class, Wendy told us about falling in love with each person. Could you talk a little bit about it so the people who are listening?
So my favorite thing is to fall in love with people, and I don't mean that, you know, in a romantic sense. It is a bit romantic. I don't mean it in a sexual sense.
Yes,
it is romantic, because I think it's beyond friendship. It's not. It's deeper than friendship. It's a bit romantic, you know, but in a non-sexual way. That like it's it's such a good feeling, and we can have that with so many people, and it's so easy. It's so easy to fall in love with someone, you know, and
every day in real life you see people, but you don't really see them.
You don't see them. You don't see them, and if you like, I think so. Not just falling in love, but like really understanding that another person is a complete human being. Like I feel like it's a whole like mental exercise and mental, spiritual, like physical exercise to like conceive of other people as complete human beings just like you are. You know, like I have many aspects of my life. I have family, I have friends, I have a whole lifetime of experiences, and every single person has that. And I think like when you do that, when you fall in love with someone else, you experience them as a whole person, and it's like it makes it feel so good to you're a whole person, you know. And I think my favorite thing to do is to do that, to do it and to facilitate it between people who otherwise would not ever know each other, you know, like across cultures. I like to go and be in other places and experience people who have, you know, superficially a different life than me. We all have the same life, but but you know, on a superficial level, they speak a different language, they live in a different part of the world, they whatever. But then to facilitate that for other people across those differences, that's my favorite thing.
When you go into a city, a new city you have never been in, the exercise probably begins at the moment you arrive there, and you start like sensing the way things work, the way people speak. Even if you understand Spanish, but the accents and please tell us a little bit about the difference in each city, what you find, or something that has happened to you that shocks you.
I'm trying to think, because everywhere is different, right? But also everywhere is just exactly the same. I think there's a period of time where, I mean, certainly walking around in the city, it's different. But once you get inside a space with people, people need different things to get to the same place. But everybody ends up getting to the same place. Like, I'm thinking of, so the Run Like a Girl workshop, which was the first thing I did here.
Yes, please talk about that, yes.
So I've done that in a lot of different places. And one that was really striking was in Japan. And, you know, there's a lot of ideas about Japanese culture that it's, you know,
Yes.
and that they're not, they don't talk about emotion, they don't express emotion.
They stay
they're
neutral.
yeah. And also that they're always on time. That's the other thing, that there's this idea that they're like rules, everything is on time. First of all, not once was everyone on time. I would arrive in the space, never were people there less than half an hour late.
Okay.
Every time. You know,
Super busy and traffic and.
But you know, but still, Japan is known for on time. Not true.
Not true.
Not true. And then the other thing was, they were like, after, you know, the first workshop, we had a conversation, because in Run Like a Girl, it's a lot more talking. I did a little bit of talking today, but there's a lot of talking in Run Like a Girl. And they were talking about their, you know, their, like, it's a very emotional experience. They were talking about their, like, the way that the way that each of them, like, thinks, and, you know, their emotional experiences and growing up, and really, really sharing. And then we did exercises with emotion, and they were super, super, super open with their emotions. So I feel like everybody wants that. Everybody, not everybody, most people, I think, want to have openness. And some cultures, like, it's more on the surface. But it's, everybody has it.
It's,
you know?
polite.
They teach us to be
Polite, but deep down.
want to connect.
Yeah. And then, I mean, and there are places that are like more immediately warm. Like here, I feel like people are like immediately warm, you know? Brazil is like that too, that it's like immediately everyone is like, you know?
Yes.
And then there are places that people have more and less a culture of paying attention to each other. And so then, like, there's just different things that you have to work on in different places, but you get to the same place eventually. It's just that we train differently. Like, girls are raised differently than boys, and even girl athletes are trained differently than boy athletes. If you switch the training, they would be able to do the other thing. It's just a question of training and our mental image. So it starts with the body, and we immediately show that none of this is true, and then we do a lot of talking about these phrases that we have in every culture, and they're the same in every culture.
Okay.
Run like a girl, cry like a girl, like the same. And they mean the same thing. They're all negative. And what's different is the ways that you can twist those phrases. So, like in English, for example, you can say, like, to run has many different possible meanings that I can play with if we do it in English. But in each language, it's different. Like, you can play with it in different ways, and sort of understand, like, for example, in English, to run a meeting, to run a company, to run for election, and like talking about what that actually means. But even if you don't have many different meanings, like in Burkina Faso, for example, we talked about what does it mean to run like a girl, and first it's like, and then very, very soon after that, it's like, well, what does it mean to run like a girl? It means you're constantly running and you never stop working. And, you know, your father and your brother get to sit there and do nothing, and you are still
and you
running.
don't have free time, yeah.
And so then there's a whole discussion about that. And then we discover, like, some phrases that don't exist everywhere, and then we break those apart. But yeah, it's that the idea of running like a girl is the same everywhere.
It's the same. You talked about your fantasies. You said, I have a fantasy at the end of the class on the wrap.
Yeah.
And you talked about some fantasies that you have. Please talk a little bit about your fantasies for the future. I know you are a person who lives in the present, but you still have some things that I would like to do this and that.
Yeah, I think I live in the future. Like when I'm in this, like when we're working, then I'm in the present. But like
Waterfall
most of the time, I'm thinking.
It's a big work of presence.
Yes. So during that, yes. But otherwise,
Yes,
I'm like,
otherwise.
next.
So what's next?
I have many fantasies. I mean, I have fantasies for the work. Those are more realistic. I have completely unrealistic fantasies for like the world.
Me too.
Which, I mean, they shouldn't be unrealistic. It would be really easy to accomplish these things if the powers that be would get out of the way and stopping us from us being like the majority of human beings from doing what we naturally want to do. And what human beings, I think, naturally want to do is live together. And it's really easy, and we want to love each other. We want to share.
We
and
don't
be
want to
together.
be fighting all the time.
Nobody wants to be fighting. Nobody does. Only the very top wants to maintain that. Nobody else wants that. So my fantasy is that, my big fantasy that's never going to happen is that this kind of work, and there are many, many people doing this kind of work, many, many, many people, that it will like somehow shift the overall balance.
You're doing that one waterfall at a time.
Yeah, but I think the best that we can hope is that we sort of hold the violence and the evil at bay. I don't know that we ever move it away, but
I hope we have to go. Yeah, we have to go. But thank you.
my pleasure.
Ella es Wendy Jehlen, maestra facilitadora de La Cascada, Waterfall. Estamos en Centro Cultural Tijuana. Esta es la presencia, entrevistas a mujeres notables, y les mandamos un abrazo fuerte desde nuestro corazón. Thank you.
Thank you.